You can. Oh, great.
All righty, and we are live. Welcome, everybody.
Hello. Hey, everybody. How you doing today? Come on in. Come on in. We're excited for you guys to join us today.
We missed you last week because of the holiday, but
Mhm.
we're back and scheduled. So let's jump right into it, Katie.
All right. Awesome. So today we are going to talk about. Today we're going to talk about. What are we talking about? Oh. I lost my screen. Here. So today we're going to talk about my video from last week, which was the over 60 buyers. So, we had a really great turnout on that one. We had a lot of great comments on it as well. And we want to kind of get into a little bit about what I talked about in that video. And while we're doing that, I want to make sure that you put into the chat, you put in your questions, your comments, and anything that we can help you with. Okay, Warwick, I'm having a technical difficulty on my end over here. So we're just going to have to hold on a second.
No problem. And we are addressing over 60 sellers, not buyers. So we'll jump into that. If you haven't seen our video from last week, I will put it in the comments down below as soon as Katie gets started. But then we also have a bunch of questions that we have been sent. If you don't know how to send us questions on all of our videos, we have a fill out a question list and we'll get to them in the lives. Also, we have a Facebook group, and all these links will be coming up shortly, where you can leave your questions in the comments or on the Facebook page, and we address them. But let's jump right into it as Katie has sorted out the computer.
Let's go into it real quick. Now, you guys know, if you watched my video last week, it's about being over 60 and how the rules have changed. The rules have changed on how you sell your home. And so today's video, we want to just talk a little bit about that. I want to get any questions answered for you. And then, like Warwick said, we've got a lot of our other questions that you guys can put in the chat. So what today's buyers are looking for, totally different. If you are over 60, it is a totally different feel because they have so many places that they can view information. They can view data online. They do a lot of drive-bys. They have neighbors in the area, a lot of social media. So these buyers nowadays are really different. These are like your kind of millennial buyers. And so they're very, very busy. They're online all the time, and they want homes that are really move-in ready with no major maintenance items. Now, I know if you guys are not, if you guys out there are millennials and you're saying to me, no, we want to do what we want to do. Yes, some of you do. Some of you want to update it, but many people do not want to update it. Many people just want to have it completely move-in ready. And those are the homes that really are getting the most amount of money. So staged and updated as well. So I want to make sure that you guys are looking at that video. So I kind of go in depth in it. Power of pricing, super, super important that your home is priced correctly. And if you are not getting that, if you don't know what that price is, you need to make sure you're calling out an agent. Inspections are a really big deal. And I'm telling you, most of the time, the buyers are going to have issues with your house, no matter what. Work, I mean, come on. Inspections that we see with our sellers and our buyers, a total mess. And don't you think that's like the hardest thing for buyers and sellers to work through?
100%. Look, a lot of time buyers, if they're not educated, want to use inspection as another negotiating point. But really, every home has issues. And what you want to do with an inspection is verify none of these issues are major. If something major comes up, you discuss it and you go through it. But really, an inspector's job is to find issues. So if they find no issues, that's more concerning than if they find some issues, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So you definitely want them to find some issues, but I wouldn't blow it out of proportion either.
Absolutely. So, one thing I talk about in that video is the real cost of selling. And this goes into the new buyer commissions. Are you guys finding that? Are you guys listing yet? Are you seeing how it's working? I mean, I can kind of tell you with the new way that the law is going is that you as a seller are going to work with your listing agent, okay? You are going to decide how much you want to pay out to your listing agent. Now, when the buyer comes to the house, they write an offer, they will most likely write an offer that has a compensation agreement in it. Now, this is what we're seeing. We are still seeing the sellers paying the buyer commission. That's what we're seeing. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that online. I'm seeing that with other agents. The only difference is that the sellers are only pre-negotiating the listing price with the agent ahead of time, the listing commission ahead of time. Okay. So I know this is really, really super complicated. And as I wrote to somebody on the Facebook page today, I said, you know what? I said, things are really not much different. There is really not going to be a savings to the buyers or the sellers. The buyers could get hurt more. And if you are a seller and you're thinking you're not going to be paying out commission, you may not sell your house. Okay. That's just the bottom line story with that. If you truly are like, I'm not paying a buyer agent commission, you may not sell. So are you okay with that? I mean, Warwick, what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, so I see this being a little challenge for everyone out there to accept. It's a new thing for buyers, it's a new thing for agents, but really you do not want to buy a house without representation. So make sure, and you also don't want to sell a house to somebody without representation. This is very important thing to consider. You wouldn't think that,
Mhm.
but the last thing you want is a crazy buyer without representation. It makes the deal worse.
Yeah. So, cheaper agents may cost you in the long run. If they're trying to get a deal on this, they may not be putting out what they need to put out, and you may hurt yourself by not offering out that compensation. So, just going into this, you have to make sure your home looks great. You're going to focus on the updates, the staging. Remember, fake it, take it, make it. You're going to fake the way the house looks. You're not going to fake the house. You're not going to cover up stuff. You're going to make it look great for presentation. You're going to take great pictures, and then you're going to make the money. Also, decluttering, super, super important. I don't want you remodeling the home. Okay. If you're over 60, you're thinking about remodeling. I don't want you to remodel it. I want you to download the seller's playbook because I have everything in there that's going to talk about what stage your home is in. Okay. One of the 5 categories that your home is going to be in. You need to understand that so you don't overspend. So you also need to understand what your market is doing. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? It's super important right now to understand that. And of course, like I always say, choosing the right agent. This could be possibly one of the biggest mistakes that you make, and you're not going to know it until you are done with your transaction. And I get so many people coming to me saying, oh my gosh, I chose the wrong agent. So you really need to make sure you're choosing the right agent. Now, one thing I said in the video is experience isn't everything. Now, I after I watched the video back again, I said, if your agent's been in the market for 30 years, they may not be the right one. They may sell a lot in the town. And the only reason I said that is because they are used to doing things the way that they're used to doing them. And the industry has changed. I mean, marketing has changed, photography has changed, commissions have changed. So if you have somebody who really is like your stable real estate agent, everybody uses that person, you may want to definitely interview somebody else and just see what the different perspectives are. And the wrong agent, I've seen it can cost you a lot of money. So timing is everything. Okay. Now, you do not want to wait until after the Super Bowl to list your house. I know that's an old wives' tale. That is completely, completely gone now. I don't want you to wait. I want you to list your home when the time is right. The worst times are really before Thanksgiving and before Christmas. Kind of the weeks before there is kind of bad. And then when you're buying your next home, I really want you to understand this. This is super important that if you do not have an income, meaning you do not have income coming into you, it could be very hard for you to qualify for a mortgage. I know you've done a lot of work on this before to figure out this situation. Tell me your thoughts on this one.
On qualifying for mortgages.
Yeah.
So when you're qualifying for a mortgage here, if you want to, firstly, with the new way that we're going with the buyer's agent, you want to make sure an offer comes in with the commission that is built into the offer. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that agent is paid and that buyer has the money to pay them. If you are going through this mortgage, or if a buyer is coming to the table and they haven't gone through that process of rolling the commission into the mortgage, that could be a potential problem when it
Mhm.
comes to having the cash down to actually purchase. So that's one thing to look at. For
Yeah.
qualifying for a mortgage, there's many different steps out there. And the one thing I want people to do is I preferred used to that I would go to my bank and get a mortgage. But working with a mortgage broker to me is a bit more efficient. They're on your side. They're shopping the rates out there, and
Mhm.
they're actually working for you. Banks are normally lower end people that push mortgage paperwork. They take a lot longer time to get approved, and they are not in tune with the market because they normally national. So that's
Absolutely.
one thing to do is work with a mortgage broker.
Yeah, and if you don't have that income, you may not qualify for a mortgage. That's really important to understand. Is if you have cash, you may not be able to get a mortgage. So you want to make sure you're talking to people early on. And finally, I want you to realize that selling a home is traumatic, and you may not recognize that or tell me that until after it's over. Or maybe you're in it right now. And I get a lot of emails from people who are in trauma right now because their home isn't selling, or they put too much money into the home and it's sitting there, or they chose the wrong agent and they're stuck in a contract. So the emotions are really, really hard. And at the end of the day, I really want you to think about, what is the money worth to you? Is 5, 10, $15,000 really, really worth it to you? Or do you need to get it done and over? Stress is worth money. Stress is worth money. So I want you guys to remember that. It's
That is
really,
very
really important. Yep.
that comes down to that inspection period as well. If you're stubborn during inspection, so
Mhm.
is the buyer stubborn during inspection. That could kill the deal. And the worst thing you want to do is go back onto the market. Then your agent has to explain why that deal was done. So even if you're stubborn, put your emotions aside. Ask your agent what is the best thing to do, and listen to them.
Absolutely. So Jill had a question: define updated. So updated means trendy, okay? Trendy, updated, what current buyers are looking for. Now, if you download my seller's playbook, I've got 5 different categories in there that talk about the types of homes that you are going to have. And there's a quiz in there that you can fill out to understand, is your home one of the 5 categories? So the first category, modern move-in is really what everybody kind of shoots for in their own home, right? That means that it's totally super updated, super trendy. There's no deferred maintenance. My favorite is unpolished potential, which I've talked about a lot because there is a lot of potential to make money. Now, this means a home that is maybe a little bit dated, but maybe the bathrooms and the kitchens have been done in the last 10 years, but it's in really, really good condition, like great condition. A buyer's going to come in and be like, this is a great base. All I'm going to do is kind of update it a little bit. Surface shine is a really tough category to be in. And surface shine is where everything looks good, but there's a lot of deferred maintenance behind the scene. And these are typically what I would call like a builder grade home. Somebody that's done, updates just to flip a house. And so you may find that during the inspection, there are a lot of things behind the scenes that aren't taken care of, like old HVAC, old roof, there's water leaking, foundational issues, things like that. Concealable condition is where really your home is like it's not in terrible condition, but it is very dated. Maybe your kitchens are 25 years old, along with your bathrooms. And maybe you have a few nice things here and there, but somebody is probably going to come in and gut the house. And the last one, restoration required, is really a complete gut. That's where it's like in not good condition at all. So in my seller's playbook, you can go in and see the exact amounts that you should be spending on updates or getting your home ready if you are thinking of moving, and depending on what category your home is in. So I know that was a long answer.
So there are links in the comments for everyone. The seller's playbook. If you do not have that, be sure to get that. The link is in the comments, and it's also in all of our videos. Really, it's a 30-page document that gives you everything you need to know before you start selling your home.
Absolutely. So every week we go in and we do some questions that people post in our Facebook group or they send to me. And we're just going to kind of talk them through a little bit. And like I said, if you guys have questions, throw it into the chat for us. Just watch your video on selling a home over 60. I'm trying to sell my mom's home in Tucson, and we're only attracting investors. After 3 deals fell through, I've decided to replace the roof and look into painting, but I'm not sure what else to do. It's been tough on my mom, and I want to attract serious buyers. So this is a tough situation because, and I did look at this home online. I went and looked at it and had a back and forth with the seller, who is the daughter. And, the home seems like it's priced correctly now, but it wasn't priced correctly when it went on the market. And because it wasn't priced correctly, you're getting people who might come in with lowball offers because the home has been on the market a while. So when you finally reduce the price into that category where it should be, you've lost the momentum of the market. So buyers are like, there's something wrong with it. Now you got 3 offers, people come in. And when she said people are investors coming in, I really was like, well, then it probably does have some deferred maintenance. Now, if she goes and replaces the roof, what's that going to cost? $10,000, $15,000, painting another 5. And then what is the stress level that that's going to be? So I don't know. I think that's pretty stressful, replacing a roof and all the painting, especially when, your mom is older and she's having a tough time with this. So then I said, what is it worth to you? What is having this done and over worth to you? And I know your mom might be a little bit upset about it, but isn't the stress worth money? Now that she was in the right price point, she really could reduce by just a little bit and get more interest, kind of get under the market. And I said to her, you need to go to your agent. And this is for anybody who has their home listed, who's maybe on the market for a long time. So what I want you to do, I want you to go to your agent and I want you to ask your agent, what is my price to sell right now? Like, what price do I need to put on this house to get me an offer that's at that price, essentially? Now, that doesn't mean you have to list at that price, but what that will do, it will give the agent freedom to tell you the honest truth. Because many times we sort of list homes that as agents, because, we're not always sure on the price. We're not always 100% accurate, but our sellers many times want more money. And many, many agents are afraid to have a heart-to-heart conversation with the sellers about what their home is really worth. And so the agents are kind of like, well, it might be a little bit overpriced, but they really want that price. So I'm going to see what happens. What you really need to do is you need to go to that agent and you need to say, tell me, what is my price to sell right now? And that agent should tell you what that price is. And I want you to be like, I want you to be totally honest with me. Totally honest. What is that price? Then you can decide, okay, is it worth it to reduce it and to be done and over rather than doing the roof, doing the painting? And then what if you put in all that money and the house doesn't actually sell? That's the real problem.
Yeah, so I definitely, a roof is a big expense, and just in this case, if you lost all 3 deals and they all had 3 different reasons, that's one thing. If they all said the roof is terrible and needs to be replaced, that's another thing. But really, you need to dig down into the issue. Is if you had a new roof, is the house going to sell? Is it just a perception that you have? Is that what all the feedback is from all the showings, or is that just something you're thinking because one person said it? Don't overthink it. Let's get down to the root of why the home is not selling. And then also the stress level, because replacing a roof is time and money. And then, it's going to be the wrong color. Who knows if you're going
Right.
that route. So there's so many things to consider when you're going to put such a big expense back into your wallet there.
Absolutely. Hey, Work, would you put the Facebook group up here for
Sure.
people? So you guys know we have a Facebook group. Some of these questions we took out of the Facebook group and we have interaction with everybody. You can upload your pictures there too, or your questions, and you can post anonymously. And I haven't figured out how to see who the anonymous people are anyway. So I don't even see, I don't even see it. So if you want to post anonymously, no one will actually know. Okay. This was a question that came through. What would be entailed in selling to a neighbor? So I also went back and forth with this viewer on her home. And the neighbor across the street came to her and asked her, are you interested in selling the home? We would be interested in purchasing it, probably. And so I said, well, the first thing you need to do is to get a contract. Like, a lot of sellers who think they're going to sell to a neighbor think, I'm going to save commission. And the reality is that you don't really know what you're doing. You don't know what the right price of the home should be. You don't know, the market or anything like that. So neighbor comes to you and you think, wow, this could be easy and done. But realistically, you might be leaving a lot of money on the table. The other thing that happens, I find this quite a bit, is that buyers will come and they'll say, oh, I want to buy your home. And then they don't actually write up an offer. They just will say, well, we'll pay you, $550,000. Now, that doesn't go anywhere because it has to be a written offer. So what I told her is that you have to get that in writing. You want a contract, and because she said, well, then we have to go somewhere else as well, and they have to sell their other home. So now it gets kind of complicated. So now you're going down this whole path of, should you sell your home to your neighbor? If you're really thinking of selling, just sell with an agent, or at least get a cost from the agent or the price the home should be worth. I just find it a little risky unless you have, the contract in writing. Now, the other thing you can do is you can engage your own agent just on the list side to represent you. So you might pay that agent, 1%, 2%, $5,000, $10,000, whatever it is, just to represent you, to make sure your interests are taken care of, I would say.
Yeah, so my parents bought their neighbor's house, but I really think you got to look at the story as a whole. But having an agent on your side will help you figure that out. My parents wanted to build their retirement home on the lot next door because it was bigger, but they didn't need it now. They just wanted to secure it in case. So in that case, my parents went to the neighbor, said, we'll buy your house at this value and then let you live there for another 5 years because we don't need it. So it all depends on where the offer comes from. But
Mhm.
of course, everything needs to be in writing. And even if you don't use an agent, use an attorney to double check everything, because that's what you're going to want to do.
Absolutely. Okay. So we're not having anybody putting any questions in the chat there. Usually we
Yeah,
get a lot of you guys.
this is the
No, but
quiet
no
one.
questions. I guess that
Lots of
since
viewers.
what?
Lots
What'd
of
you say?
viewers, but no questions.
Yeah, I guess that since everybody's feeling that the commission has all been handled, we haven't maybe you guys
Yeah.
aren't seeing that. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. So we're considering stained concrete floors instead of LVP. We want to avoid the off-gassing from new LVP, and our 15-year-old carpets are full of dust, which is affecting our health. Concrete is also a bit cheaper. Thanks. Work, I'm gonna let you take that one.
Yeah. So look, at stained concrete, it's not popular interior for a home anywhere that I know. Maybe your area is a bit different, but really speaking, that is, it's not a popular choice. I'm not saying stained concrete looks ugly. I'm saying it's not popular. So therefore, it's going to make it more
Mhm.
difficult when it comes to sell your home, because it's going to be so odd. It may look fantastic, and you
It
may
might,
love it,
yeah.
and that's fine if you're doing it for yourself and you know that this might be an issue when you come time to sell. LVP, go high quality, then there's less or higher quality, then there's less off gassing. Find
Mhm.
a great company, and then you can do it that way, and it will help your home sell more so than the concrete. But
Yeah.
if you
I
just want concrete because you want it, just know it's not going to be an easy sell.
Yeah, and the LVP is really easy to install and to take out. And so that's something to keep in mind, because I mentioned, well, could you go with tile instead? And tile is a real commitment, because if you choose the wrong tile, and I'll tell you, most tile is wrong. Like, most tile that people put into their homes is the wrong tile for moving. Not for living there necessarily, but for moving, because it is really, really personal preference. So I just think if you decide you're going to put tile in and that buyer doesn't like that tile, it is a huge financial commitment and really a lot of work to take up tile. Now, if you put in LVP or something like that, that would make it a little bit better. I understand you don't want the off gassing, but if you're thinking maybe you're moving right now, then maybe it won't matter. So concrete is a commitment. It is a real commitment, and somebody may not purchase the home because of that. And that's what I want you guys to keep in mind. Definitely keep that in mind. All right. I've been watching your videos. They've been a big help. I'm selling my old rental, which needs work. It's restoration required. So remember, that means like full gut, everything is needed. I spent 34,000 on updates, AC, electric panel, roof, flooring, but couldn't update the kitchen and bathrooms. It's listed at 279 and has been on the market for 110 days. I got one offer for 218, but didn't accept. I'm thinking of lowering it to 250. Should I relist or just drop the price? Any advice? So, yeah, I mean, here's the thing is that if it really was restoration required and it needed all that, you probably might not have even wanted to put in that original money, because now you're trying to get more money out and people are still going to have to put in, $20,000, $10,000 to do the work. So I'm always for lowering prices. And if you're going to lower your price, you need to put it into a new market. So that would put that into the 250. Now, if you only got one offer at 218, that's probably close to what the house is worth. That's why I probably wouldn't put any more money into the home.
And if you look at it, you say kitchen and bathrooms. That
Mhm.
means you got more than one bathroom. And we all know the kitchen and the bathrooms are the most expensive when it comes to renovating.
Yeah.
Now, one thing is, both of those areas include water. So as soon as you start ripping things out, there's going to be water damage, excess expenses on replacing wood that was damaged previously. So that's just going to tick, and it's going to add, and it's going to add. So I would not undergo those renovations to increase your price, because you're gonna spend more once the
Absolutely.
walls come off.
Yep. I'm deciding between 2 agents from 5 interviews. Now, 5 interviews is a lot. That's like maybe a little overwhelming to do just as a seller. I don't always recommend that. Would love your opinion. Both are experienced, though one slightly more so, and I feel confident in their diligence and responsiveness. Could you help me evaluate them? So if you guys have agents you're working with, you can send them to me. Now, I don't know these agents, so it's very hard for me to say you should or should not absolutely work with this person. When we are referring agents out, we look at a lot of different things. And our video that's coming out is going to show you exactly how we evaluate agents. There's basically 5 things that we're looking for. So the first is going to be, it has to be professional experience. You've got to have professional experience, which means a number of transactions. Now, I've talked about how many transactions an agent should have. And I really feel like, if they're doing 150 transactions in the last 3 years, like 50 deals, that's a full-time agent. Okay. That is a full-time agent. That person is hustling. That person is working. Now, depending on the price point of the market, if the market's lower, they're probably going to do more. If the market's higher, they may do a little less. So when I go and I'm looking for agents to refer, I'm like, this agent has only done 24 deals in the last 3 years. So that shows me that the agent isn't necessarily in the market. Now, some of our data might, not be absolutely accurate, meaning we look on multiple different places. Online, we look in Zillow, Homes, Realtor. We're looking at all these things. And so I would say that your realtor really needs to be selling about like 30 to 50 deals a year in order to be full-time. Okay. So that's how I know somebody's done a lot of transactions. But when you send me somebody, that's going to be the first thing I look at. And I'm going to be like, okay, they've done a fair amount of transactions. Somebody sent me one today and I was like, wow, these marketing photos look fantastic, which is our second kind of pillar that you need to understand is, what does their marketing look like? Are their listing photos good? Is their own brand marketing good? Do they have their own website? The other things that we're really looking for is communication and support. How are they communicating? How is their website look? How is their copy? Also, do they have a team? Now, anybody who's doing over 50 deals a year themselves, that's a lot. And if they don't at least have like a transaction coordinator, that could be really, really difficult. So I'm looking to see, are they having, do they have a team to support? Maybe they work with buyers. What are they doing? The other things I'm looking at are really honesty and professionalism. How professional are they? And then the end one, the last one that you need to understand yourselves is gut. You have to understand, do you feel good with these people? And we're laying up realtors for you who are going to meet all pretty much the other criteria. However, you're going to have to decide that rapport. Do you like this person? Do you feel good with this person? I mean, I don't know if you are not going to want somebody who talks all the time. Maybe you do want somebody who talks all the time. I don't know. So that's really kind of up to you. So it's hard for me to say exactly which agents you should like. It's hard for me to say like your agent is good or not good. I can tell you the basics of what I see online, but you're the one who has to decide in your gut. Okay. Did I go through that work in
Yeah, so
our
look,
process?
basically, we are trying to make sure the agents that we refer to you are qualified agents. They qualify, they're active, they know what they're doing by all the things that we can see, the pictures, their transaction history, and so on. What we cannot do is make the decision for you, and we cannot be in that room with you and get that feeling you get when you're talking to
Right.
somebody. So, you know, you can put all of the is this agent good aside and focus on, do you get along with this agent? Do you
Mhm.
like their story? Do you like how they present? And that's what we want you to focus on when we send an agent your way, because they're qualified because we sent them to you.
Absolutely. So yes, we can help you. Um, but ultimately I will never say an agent is bad because I can't say that they are bad, but there are a lot of bad agents out there. Remember that there are a lot of bad agents out there. Okay. Two questions. First, I like both agent one and agent two, but agent one doesn't listen to my downsizing needs. I'm over 60 and still working. Okay. So then that's a problem. Any agent that doesn't listen to you is a real problem. And that's what I was saying is you got to go with your gut, right? You just got to go with your gut. Um, so I would go with agent two on that one. Should I use walnut hardwood? I have enough to cover the main area and I already installed it in 3 bedrooms. My kitchen has white tile with an open floor plan. I recently redid the kitchen because the cabinets were falling apart and I found a good deal on new ones. I would say, how does it look? Do you like it? Um, you know, it depends on how long you're gonna stay there. If you're doing it just to move, um, I don't know. It's hard to say without really seeing a picture. This is why we like people to put the pictures into the Facebook group. I mean, what's your thought, Work?
Yeah, look, these questions, they're great if they're accompanied with photos, but really everything comes down to, are you selling next week or do you want to do this for yourself? Because
Right.
bottom line is, it's your home and you have to love living in your home. Well, you don't have to, but it's ideal if you do. So if you're thinking about doing something because you'll enjoy it and you're selling in 5+ years, do it. Just know, like that concrete floor we talked about, it may be difficult to sell if you make a bad decision. Now, how do you not make a bad decision? We always preach, talk to an agent always. An agent is rarely like a financial advisor. Just because you're not selling now
Mhm.
doesn't mean you shouldn't consult them. And then you can also start to figure out if this agent is an agent you'll use when and if you decide to sell. A good agent will give you advice. For example, let's say everyone in your block has one bathroom and 2 bedrooms, and now you want to add another story and make it a five bathroom, 7 bedroom. You may be able to do that, but talk to your agent and see if you're gonna get your money out of it, because maybe it's not worth it and maybe it's better just to move. So always talk to an agent if you're gonna do a substantial change, because they will have some inside information that will
Mhm.
just help you.
Yeah, now I know, and I've said this numerous times, our videos that are about agents, you guys don't like them. And that's fine. Like, I get more comments, more hate, more whatever. But the reality is that an agent, can really save you a lot of money. And I want to make sure that you're talking to people early on and numerous people. to see how you feel about them. You know, that's really, really important.
For sure.
So I wanted to show the investment matrix. But first, oh wait, yay, look at that. Krista, yay. I'm listening next Wednesday. Thank you so much for the reference. It's been a
Good
long
luck.
road, Krista.
Yeah.
Yay. And we went back and forth on that too with her agents. And so I'm glad that I can't wait to hear how that goes. Also, would you put LVP or tile in a bathroom or model? I'd put tile in,
100%.
yeah, because of the wetness,
Yeah,
you
I would
know.
always put tile in the bathroom. LV,
Mhm.
sketchy.
Yeah, I'd be nervous about that. Like, kind of it's the same thing if you're putting hardwood in bathrooms. Do you know what the worst is in a bathroom, Warwick?
What's- Go for it. Tell me.
Carpet.
Carpet. Yep. 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 My
Have
parents'
you
old
seen
house.
that before? Have you seen that before?
My parents' old house had carpet in the bathroom.
They
It
did
was.
not. Around the
Yeah.
toilet?
It was. Yeah. It was around the toilet, the bathtub, everything. So I think the toilet actually
Like,
had like a tile footprint, but then the whole bathroom was just carpet. It was very
oh my
awkward.
God. I can't. Like, that gives me the heebie-jeebies. I also talk about some of the other heebie-jeebies that I get, which are when when you're showing a house and you go in and the towels are wet in the bathroom and
Yep.
the humidity is still in the bathroom and the shower.
Yep. No, I agree with that for
I
sure.
mean, you feel
For
like you're
sure.
intruding. You feel like you're intruding into somebody's home. Also, like when I know your kids aren't old enough, but I mean, like dirty, dirty sheets. You can smell dirty sheets that haven't been
The,
washed.
the real worst is when the seller is in the house. That's the worst out of everything. If the seller's in the house and they're a chatterbox, that's the
The
next step
worst.
up.
How
Yeah.
often do I
So
say that sellers and buyers should ever meet?
no, and then the problem
Never.
is if you're selling a rental house and the tenants don't leave, and now the tenants don't really care what happens with the deal. So then they talk. No, been through a couple of those. That's pretty
No.
bad.
No, buyers and sellers should never meet. Like, I mean, honestly, like never.
Yeah.
Like
So
even after closing.
my house, there was a lot of unique things in my house, and the buyer, I'm South African. The seller happened to be South African as well. So he said, "Look, I'll meet you at the house. I'll show you around." And the day of final walkthrough, they canceled. I was like, "This is very weird." But now thinking of it as an agent, their agent probably said, "Do not meet this guy."
It's a terrible idea. If you guys watch my Don't Get Sued video, that was what happened is that the buyers and the sellers met the day of the walkthrough, and the seller thought she was being really forthcoming by giving the buyer a bunch of stacks of receipts and stuff like that. And so then he started looking through the whole stack of receipts and noticed that the windows were not as new as he thought they were. She said they were newer, but they were 7 years old. So he was like, well, these aren't 7 years old or these aren't 5 years old or newer. And so then they actually got into a screaming match in the house. And so then the
Yeah,
buyer goes to closing and says he wants $10,000 back. And the seller says, go pound sand. No, we're closing. And the buyers walked away from the table and they didn't close. And then the buyers sued the sellers after they didn't even buy the home, and they basically won. Bad
yeah.
story.
After being in this industry a bit, yes, it's never good. You never want even look, it's an emotional time for the seller. It's an emotional time for
Mhm.
the buyer. One's excited, one's a little sad and excited. And now you're mixing in a huge amount of money. Do not do it. It's not fun for anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you're trying to be nice and you don't want to start anything, something might start and it will make it a worse experience.
Absolutely. So, you know what I was thinking about? I know we don't have a ton of of questions, but that thinking about what gives me the heebie-jeebies. I wanted to tell the story. I don't know if I told you this story. It's funny. Maybe I just think it's funny to myself. My kids think it's funny every time they hear it because I've told it quite a bit. So I went to a listing appointment, and this was kind of early on in in my career, and I'm
Must be.
really, really bad at directions. Did I tell you this story, Work?
I can't recall it right now.
Okay. So I'm really, really bad at directions and street names. Like it's really embarrassing, honestly, to be a real estate agent and not know where streets are. Anyway, so I went to this listing appointment. I knock on the door, and the maid came, to the door and answered it. She didn't speak any English. She spoke Spanish. I don't speak any Spanish. And I said, "Oh, I'm here for the listing appointment." And she was like, "Oh, come sit down." And I come and sit down. So I'm sitting in the house, and now it's like 10. She said shower. So she like pointed upstairs, said shower. So I was like, "Oh, he's in the shower." Okay. So I'm sitting there, and it's like 10, 15 minutes after I was supposed to be there, and he still didn't come down. And so I text him, and I was like, "Hey, I'm in your I'm in your living room." And he's like, "No,
Me
you're not."
too. Where are you?
No, he goes, "No, I'm not." I said, "What?" He goes, "I'm in my living room." And I'm like, "What?" It was in the
Ay,
wrong
ay.
house.
So
I
what
was
happened? You just ran out?
Oh my God. Well, the guy hadn't come down. I don't even know who this was. The guy hadn't come down, and the cleaning person just left me there, and she didn't come back. I mean, she didn't know who I was or anything. So I was like, "Oh my gosh." I said, "Oh my gosh, I gotta leave." So I just left. I just walked out the door, and then I went across the street. It was across the street, and I walk in. He's like, "Where were you?" I go, I was sitting in the living room of your neighbor's house." And he
Yeah,
was like, "Oh." I
that
got the
would
listing.
well, that's good.
I
I
got
mean, that would have been something else if you actually saw the guy coming out of the shower there. But
Oh my gosh. I will tell you, real estate agents know everything. Like, real estate agents know inside scoops and everything like that, and I could tell you 100 of these stories. But
yeah, for
anyway,
sure.
I just thought that was funny. I always laugh when I tell it because
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Hopefully that doesn't
okay. So, okay. Here is I want to go over this with you guys. We only have a few more minutes, but I want to make sure you know this because this is stuff that like you're not going to find anywhere else because what I've done is, you know, I want people to be able to categorize their home because whether, somebody just says to me, "Should I redo my kitchen?" That's a very, very hard question to answer. Should I redo my kitchen? And it depends on if your home is in one of the 5 categories. And so this right here shows you in our seller's playbook. You go and you download it. I mean, I suppose you can circle it right here and figure it out. But what you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to circle the ages of everything. Okay. And then you're going to add it up and you're going to come up with the score. I got to find the scores in here as well. But let me just see if they are right here. No. Okay.
happen. Okay.
Work, could you put that
Yeah.
into this presentation? Just the categories there. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to circle this, okay? Now, when I first put this out, people were like feeling like this was an insult for their house. And there's no insult for your house. Your house is what it is. This is just going to tell you how much money you should spend on your house getting it ready to go on the market or updating. Okay, so for example, if your furnace is 20 years old, your AC is 20 years old, your windows are 20 years old, your kitchen is 20 years old. If all of this is 20 years old, and then you say to me, "Should I paint my house?" Right? I'm saying probably not because everything else is 20 years old. So where do you spend your money? Okay. And how much should you spend? I believe in this category, this is the restoration required category, which I'll show you in a minute, is that you're really only spending 1 to 3% of your house. So the example that I had before, the question that I had on here, the house she had listed it at 279. It was probably worth 250, 200, right? So if you go 1 to 3% on that, that's $2,000 to $6,000 on how much should be spent on the house getting it ready. Now, with that money, what I would do is fix the things that are really broken, because now she's put in $34,000 to it and she still may not get that out. So that's why this is really, really important. And then you can see, like, this right here is modern move-in, okay, in the first category. And the modern move-in category is for somebody who loves their home. They take pride in it. They get new furniture. Everything is updated. Maybe it's a little trendy. That is like, I would call, if a millennial moves into their home and has lived there for a few years, like, that's probably going to be modern move-in. Concealable condition is pretty much in the second category. I'm sorry, what am I saying? Unpolished potential, like I said, is my favorite. The reason why is because in unpolished potential, you usually have, like, your furnace is newer, your AC is newer, your windows are newer, your kitchen, maybe it's a little dated. Maybe your bathroom's a little dated, but all of your mechanicals are going to be updated. So that is what it makes it a great, great base. Okay. Surface shine is really in the middle here. You've got older mechanicals, older, so maybe a surface shine would be 20 years for all of these things, but maybe your kitchen is brand new. Okay. But maybe your furnace is old, your roof is old. So now a buyer may have a great kitchen, but now they have to come in and redo the furnace and the roof and the windows. So that's how you can tell. And in the playbook, it's going to give you those examples. Did you find it work?
I've only got the text. I don't have the image.
Yeah, it's okay. All right. It's all right. No worries. So that's something that I want you guys to be looking at. I'm going to try and find it here. I see we have a couple questions in here, so I'm going to try and find it real quick.
Sorry.
If you want to answer that question there, let's see. What do we have? Our home, David the whippersnapper.
Our home sits on a pie-shaped lot, and it must be at least 1.5 times the size of other lots on the street. I'm sorry I don't have the square footage, but what can you tell us about this? Well,
how much does the lot size play into the prices? That's a great question, actually. It depends. And it depends because, I'm going to give you your house is a great example of this.
So it really does depend. Like, if it's a double wide lot and everything is amongst single wide lots, and you can turn this into 2 single lots, it's going to add value. If it's an abnormally shaped, like you're talking a pie, and no one can really divide it up into another parcel, it's not really going to double the value of your land. So that's not good. Some people don't actually want land, so it may
that's a
hurt
big thing to keep in mind. Yeah.
So my home is on 4.6 acres or something, in amongst quarter, if at most half-acre lots. Now, that's a lot of land for somebody. It's also a lot of property tax. It's also a lot of maintenance. I can divide the lot if I want. If the village allows me, there is space to do that. But even then, it's going to be a big lot. So it really depends. I would say if it's a regular double wide, if it's double wide and it's normal shaped and it fits into everything, you may have value there. If it's abnormal shape, it's not really adding any value. It might be adding inconvenience to a buyer.
Yeah. So being on a pie shape is tough, just because you have half an acre. I don't know exactly how much it is, but just because you have a half an acre doesn't mean it's worth more than the house next door, especially because the taxes could be higher. I mean, in the Chicagoland area, that will jack up your taxes really, really high. So, the lot,
getting access to the house, if you were to divide it's not big enough to divide. So I would say it only really adds value if you can divide it evenly and make another home on it, and it fits in with the neighborhood, and that's simple. Other than that, it's just going to be an inconvenience.
The other thing I'd say is, if it depends on the house, okay, also, because if you have a small house on a gigantic piece of land, it's also not going to necessarily increase the value. So when you're looking at comps, when you're looking at comparables, you're going to want to look at what is the appraised value and what is the market value. So, you want to look at what is the market value of the house that you're in and what is the appraised value of the house that you're in. And then you can add and take away for the land. I hope that helps.
Yeah. Okay. Did you find that image?
I did, but we got one more question or comment. Even if a double lot, local zoning issues matter. Yeah. Some municipalities won't let you split or build. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So if you are the owner of that lot, I would try to find out that information before, just so you know, because that might be a value add or a negative, just so you go into it knowing what you're getting into.
Yeah. And you can call an agent. They don't have to come over. So I'll give you an example. I have somebody who I just know through my town, and he reached out to me. He said, "We're not selling yet. I just am trying to figure out what I'm going to do." Now, his lot was on huge acreage, and he needed to know, was his house worth updating? It was his father's house, and he had died. And so, what really did he need to do? And I said, first thing you need to do is you need to call the village and see if you can subdivide this property, because that's going to make a big difference. After that, I thought, wow, this property was like almost 3 acres, I believe, but the house was not that magnificent. So even if you rehab the house, it wasn't going to be this fantastic house on 3 acres. So it's all this give and take. But he literally just called me up and asked me to come over. And I thought, sure, I'll come over and take a look at the house. I went and gave him my assessment, and we'll just keep in touch every couple months. Most agents who are good agents will not put that pressure on you, for sure.
Yeah. So one thing I have learned is on my house. So I have a very unique house. It was for sale for 2 years or something. Nobody wanted it. They dropped the price, I don't know, a lot. And it works out perfectly for me. And that's fine. It's for me. I bought it for me. So I know if some of you love your home, you love your lot, that's great. Someone else might love it. We talk about mass appeal to everyone because we know people don't want their home to sit on the market 6, 12, 24 months, right? When you're looking to sell your home, you're looking to sell your home. So that's what we talk. We talk in general, and we're not criticizing anyone's opinion on if they like it or not.
So I want to just throw this in here real quick so you can see this. This goes into the seller's playbook. And if you fill out that, this right here, so you fill that out, you're going to add up your points, and you're going to come up with what are the points in your, for your house. So as you can see, like that example that I told you about, the restoration required, I'm saying 1 to 3% of the home value, because there's so much to do in that. Now, I do have a video on that too, the gut rehab video. I am doing videos on all of these different categories as well. So concealable condition, 2 to 5% of home value. So you can see some visible issues, moderate updates, need to conceal flaws, focus on paint, minor repairs, and cosmetic touch-ups. So I'm telling you exactly what to do in here. Surface shine, 3 to 7% of home value. And most of that's going to go towards deferred maintenance. Unpolished potential. Now look, this is the one where you spend the most amount of money getting your home ready. And that's because there's the most potential for upside when you have the unpolished potential. Because now what you're doing is you're going to make it look more like your target market buyer would be interested in it, if it's a millennial or someone like that. So that's a 5 to 10%. And then the modern move-in, I'm saying up to 5% of your home value. Now, here's the thing with the modern move-in. Most likely, if you have a modern move-in house, you're not going to recoup all the money that you put in when you put it in. So you're not going to get out dollar for dollar with windows and roof and furnace and kitchen, all that. But you're going to have a house that sells very quick at the highest dollar in the market. So all these different categories are just what they are. They're not bad. They're not good. They are just what they are. And you can kind of figure out how much you should spend. Even if you're thinking about updating your kitchen and you're selling in 5 years, how much really should you spend? And you guys know you can always reach out to me and ask questions. And Warwick just put it in there. We've got our Profitable Homeowners Facebook group where you guys can ask your questions in there, upload your pictures. Got a lively crowd in there. Anybody in our group in here? Let's see. I don't know.
It has
Maybe.
to be. A lot of people. everyone's just watching today. Not
I know everyone's watching. Maybe because the whole commission thing is,
it's
I don't
done.
know. Maybe everyone feels like, I don't know. Hey, Krista, I'm going to ask you a question. If you're still here, are you paying out the buyer commission ahead of time? Go ahead and put that in the chat. So, here's one thing I want to tell you as a seller. Okay. If if your seller's agent comes to you and is telling you that you need to decide up front how much you're going to pay out your buyer agent, you should say, no way. Don't do it. Now, there's a lot of conversation from everyone out anywhere. If you do that, okay, let's say you tell your seller's agent, your listing agent, that you're going to pay out 3% to the buyer's agent. What's going to happen is the buyer's agents are going to call and ask the listing agent how much they're paying out. And the listing agent's going to say, oh, we're paying 3% out. Well, what if that buyer doesn't need the seller to cover the commission? What happens in that case? Well, what's going to happen is the listing agent's going to pocket that commission. That's what's going to happen. So you are, as a seller, going to make more money if you do it the way that I'm telling you. Warwick, you have a comment on that?
So is that what's happening now? So if I'm the listing agent and it's 3%, and then I say you're paying another 3% to the buyer's agent, but my buyer comes in and that buyer doesn't need to get their agent comped, that commission goes to the listing agent?
It depends. I mean, it depends. You and I saw that video of that one agent who pocketed it.
Yeah,
And
and to me, I think that sounds illegal, but yeah, maybe it's possible, and
it's
that's
not,
a bit crazy.
I don't think it's illegal because the agreement has been signed that they're paying the listing agent, and then the listing agent might say, well, I'm going to negotiate the buyer agent commission out of my full commission. So if you agree to pay your listing agent 6% and it's not stated clearly that that's supposed to go to the buyer's agent, I mean, I just wouldn't do it. The easiest, cleanest way to do this is just tell your listing agent how much you're going to pay them.
Yep.
That's it. And then you be open to a commission and you tell your agent, say, yep, tell people to come with their commissions. Now you're going to know what's maybe more standard in your market and you might get that. And in that case, you might be like, totally okay. Now we had 2 deals so far, one with a buyer, one with an agent, seller. Both just brought the offer of compensation with the offer. And it was fine. It wasn't even a discussion. So I want you guys to be thinking about that. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's the best, cleanest way to do it.
awesome. Okay. So that's about it for today. We have another we have another video coming out probably Wednesday, Warwick?
Yeah, I would say Wednesday.
Yeah, this one's going to be the biggest mistake, truly the biggest mistake that you can make if you're thinking about selling or when you sell. And I'm telling you, this is what I hear from people all of the time, what the biggest mistake is that they made. I could have talked for an hour on this one, but we're editing
It's
it
a
right now.
jam-packed video, that's for sure. There's a lot of information. You're not going to want to waste that video. It's a ton of information that you save and watch a couple times.
Absolutely.
Cool.
You guys, we got to make sure you subscribe because we hit, what did we hit today? Warwick, 3 million
We hit
views.
3 million views today and 34,000 subscribers. So thank you to each and every one of you. It's been a great growth, a great ride, and hopefully we can keep on growing and educating because
Yep.
that's our goal.
Absolutely. Every Monday we're here. Join our Facebook group. We have a ton of resources for you that we want to make sure that you, use to your advantage because we're here for you.
Perfect. Well, guys, until next time, we will see you
I'll see
Monday, same time, same place. Thanks a lot. Come with your questions because we love interacting with you guys.
Absolutely. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.